Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Advancement Center and the continued reading of the book, The Magic of Life by Robert Young. And we continue with chapter 38. Their trip to Simon's place was happy and lighthearted. When they arrived, they found Simon was waiting in his usual spot on the porch. The water had subsided and the path to his front steps had been cleaned up and was dry, although the grass was quite muddy. Simon quickly stood up and they arrived and walked halfway down the steps to meet him. He put his hand up and said, "Stop. There's an entrance fee. You cannot cross the path until you pay 35 cents each." Bill and Suzanne laughed and put their hands down to stop the children moving forward. Bill was the first to speak. He knew that Simon was intent on showing them something, though he wasn't sure what it all meant. "Simon, what's the game?" he asked. "You can't come along the path until you pay 35 cents each," repeated Simon. "But we don't have 35 cents. And besides, I don't think I've ever seen 35 cents, said Bill. "Well, I'm sorry then. You can't come in," replied Simon. Bill shrugged his shoulders. "But I don't have it." "That's your problem. But until you have 35 cents, you can't come in," said Simon once again. Suzanne put her hand up to Bill and explained, "It's all right, Bill. It's just like you can't go into the sale unless you take a cake along." Bill settled down and tried to figure it all out. "Okay, and if you don't have a cake, you can't get in." "That's right. So what do you do? Do you borrow cake from somebody else?" "If you can," answered Suzanne. "Yes, but how are we going to borrow 35 cents?" he asked. "Nobody has got 35 cents. He looked around at Suzanne and looked back at Simon. A lot of frustration started to build within him. He did not want to play this game. Jamie ran forward right across the path and up to Simon. "Simon, can you lend me 35 cents?" she asked. "Sure I can, Jamie. I can lend you 35 cents, answered Simon as he reached into his pocket and gave Jamie the money. Jamie ran straight back over to Bill and gave him the money. "There you are, Bill. You can go in now." Bill looked around and everyone was smiling. He leaned down to Jamie and said, "Thanks, Jamie." He took the 35 cents and walked up to Simon. Simon held out his hand and said, "Thank you. You can now pass." Bill shook his head. He didn't quite understand what was happening. Then Jamie ran back again and asked, "Simon, can you lend me 35 cents?" Simon answered, "Sure, Jamie." As he lent Jamie the 35 cents, "Jamie, now you owe me 70 cents. Jamie shrugged her shoulders, ran back to Suzanne, and gave the 35 cents to her mother. "No, give it to Martha," said Suzanne. So Jamie gave the money to Martha and pushed Martha forward toward Simon. Simon waved his arms and held them open, and Martha toddled forward slowly but surely with the 35 cents tightly gripped in her hand. When she got to Simon, she stopped about an arm's length from him, looked at the money, then looked back at Simon, and looked back at the money before she quickly stuck her hand down in her pocket. Simon laughed and said, "Well, Martha, you can't come in unless you give me the money." Martha kept her hand in her pocket and turned around to Suzanne with a big grin on her face. She said nothing before taking her hand out of her pocket to look at the money again. She looked back at Suzanne and her mother nodded and said, "Yes, Martha, give the money to Simon." Martha turned around and giggled. She ran up to Simon and gave him the money. Simon patted her on the head and said, "Thank you, Martha. Now you can come in." Samuel jumped up and down and said, "It's my turn, it's my turn." The same process occurred. Jamie got the money from Simon, and instead of 70 cents that she owed, it was now $1.05. And then on they went until Jamie owed Simon all of the money, but everybody managed to get past Simon. Now, everybody remember who owes who money and how much you owe. We'll sit down and find out how much we made out of 35 cents, said Simon. Bill and Suzanne looked at each other and wondered what Simon was going on about, but it must be some sort of game, they thought. That the children thought it was great fun, and maybe it was fun. Bill had a deep frown on his face. Simon walked up to him and touched his forehead. He said, "Bill, it's just a game. Let it go." Bill shrugged a little, put his hands in his pockets, and Simon said once again, "Let it go, Bill. It's all right. You'll see what we're talking about very soon." Bill was quite reluctant to let all of this anguish go. He really didn't want to play, and in particular, he didn't want to be controlled. Simon patted him on the shoulder as Suzanne came up beside him. Gradually, he melted and was soon back to the old Bill again. Simon knew that he had put everybody through an exercise that they would not forget, but he wanted to show them exactly what would happen. He wanted to show them how the consciousness of money grows very quickly if you use it, and how Jamie managed to accumulate a massive debt, and how each person held the same debt, but only 5 people passed Simon. He was about to explain to them how the numbers did not seem to add up, and how one person can accumulate a massive debt and yet achieve no more than anybody else. Also, he would explain how it is necessary sometimes for a person to do that so that everybody else can move forward. Bill, who on the other hand had been so excited how things had happened earlier in the day, really just wanted to tell Simon all about his adventures. He was not that interested in playing games. When Simon said, "Everybody in, sit down at the table. Suzanne, can you make cups of tea?" He turned to Bill and said, "Bill, come here. I want to talk to you." Bill did not know what was going on. Simon put his arm around Bill and half wobbled with him down the hall and toward Simon's bedroom. When they got almost halfway, Simon turned to Bill and said, "It's all right, Bill. I know you've had an exciting day. I know we need to talk, but right now I need to change your direction promptly so that you understand everything that's happening in this moment. It's more important than you realize, because by tomorrow you will need to use what I'm showing you." Bill looked at Simon with a strange look on his face. "It's okay. I know that we have to get through this lesson. Just trust me, Bill, and come along with us," explained Simon. "That's fine, Simon," as Bill put his arm around Simon's back and gave him a bit of a squeeze. "Good on you, Bill," said Simon. After that, Simon and Bill joined everybody at the table. As Suzanne served the tea and the drinks for the children, Simon got out his matchbox and started to deal out matches. He put 3.5 matches in front of each person as they were drinking their tea and eating the cakes and biscuits that came from nowhere once again. Simon explained, "Now I have lent you all 3.5 matches. Let's call them cents, 35 cents. Martha quickly grabbed the matches and went to put them in her mouth. Suzanne grabbed her hand and said, "No, leave them on the table." Martha put her hand back on the table, but did not want to let the matches go. "That's fine, Suzanne. They're her matches," said Simon. "But remember, I lent them to her. Now, if you count up how many matches I've lent 17.5 matches." They all counted them up, and sure enough, he'd lent 17.5 matches. Simon explained, "Now you see that to be able to do that, I had to have the matches first. But when I lined you all up at the door and said you owe me 35 cents for entry, nobody had any money. But with my small investment of 35 cents, which is 3.5 matches, you all ended up owing me 17.5 matches. So we've created a little bit of magic. Out of nothing, you owed me 17.5 matches." "Yes, but that was payment to get in," said Suzanne. Yes," said Simon. "But see the simplicity of how we made money by putting a little bit of money up front. Out of my investment plan, which was 35 cents to get in, I would end up with $1.75. But the plan was impossible if I didn't put in the 35 cents. Suzanne shook her head, and Bill just looked puzzled and asked, "What do you mean?" "Well, Bill, you'd have still been standing out there if I hadn't said to Jamie that I would lend her the 35 cents. You would also have been standing out there frustrated and wanting to fight me if Jamie hadn't run up and asked me to lend her the 35 cents, replied Simon. Bill started to grin. Simon continued, so you can see there are some natural leaders. Even little children lead the way to make things possible. So my willingness to invest 35 cents made our transaction real, and Jamie's willingness to ask made it more than real because she took on the initial debt, and now you owe her. You probably feel okay about that, though. By this time, Bill was starting to grasp what he was being shown. He didn't mind owing Jamie 35 cents, but he sure as hell didn't want to owe Simon 35 cents. As he had no debt to Simon, he was happy about that, and neither did anybody else. Jamie had a debt to Simon, and she was not at all worried about that. She knew that everybody else would pay her, so that all she owed Simon was 35 cents. So out of the whole exercise, everybody had worked together to make the transaction real. Simon went on, now what we'll do is we'll take a piece of paper and we find out who owes who what money and where it all goes to in the end, and the advantage of having it the way it is now. He handed out a slip of paper to everyone, even one to Martha. She immediately placed her wet fingers on it and covered it with biscuit. Everybody had a bit of a laugh, but Simon said, no, this is real. Now, if we have a look at Martha's debt, she has a debt to Jamie of 35 cents. So we'll write that down. It's the same with all of you. You all have a debt to Jamie for 35 cents. So who has the most money owing to them? Everyone looked at Jamie. Simon continued, so you can see that they have the greatest ability to get money. Jamie answered, me? So you can see that Jamie has money owed to her, and as such, if we just look at that, she has done very well out of the exercise. Yes, but she owes you that money to you, said Bill. That's right, said Simon. And if it doesn't have to be paid to me straight away, Jamie has access to more money than anybody. Jamie's happy about all of her family owing her money because she knows that her family has got some gold and they can actually pay. But nobody else can do much with the money except gain entry into my house. Their debt is clear and they have entry, but nothing else. Whereas Jamie can actually do a deal with me to wait for a little while before she pays me, and she has access to more money than she can do other things with, money that she can invest the way I did to have more people owe her money. And in fact, the money hasn't gone anywhere. If we distribute all the money back again, if you hand me back all the 3.5 matches, or you pay Jamie your 3.5 and she pays me, there are no matches left on the table. But if you pay Jamie your 3.5 matches and I say that I don't need the matches right now, Jamie has all the matches. She can do what she likes with those matches, provided she has made sure that whenever I need some matches, she has some available. She can even take on loans for other people and be able to pay with the money that's flowing through her hands. So hand the matches over to Jamie. Come on, everyone, said Simon. Now, Jamie, what do you want to do with your matches? Do you want to pay me back, or do you wish to play another game? Jamie jumped up and said, let's play another game. So you see, Bill, even a child knows what to do. Even a child knows that if they give me back all of the money, then it's all over. So the game is to find another game or another way to do what we did on the way in, and then you'll see that money is useful, said Simon. Bill marveled at the exercise that they had just been through. He asked Simon, can we do more? Not right now, Bill. That's enough for now, said Simon. We'll keep our pieces of paper and we'll remember who has what. Then we'll play another game later. So let's pack it all up and we'll have another cup of tea while we listen to your adventures. Bill was so excited about what he had just seen and learned, and he wanted to know more. Although he hadn't known Simon as well as Suzanne had over the years, he had known that Simon was a man of his word, and that if he said no, he meant no, and if he said yes, then he meant yes. It came time to pack everything up and do exactly what Simon suggested. Bill had almost forgotten about the early part of the day. He had been so engrossed in the money exercise. When he got to the point where everything was put to one side and the table was cleared, he was a little surprised when Simon looked at him and said, "Okay, your turn, Bill. Tell us all about today." Bill reeled a little with the shock of having to change so dramatically. It was like changing from one world to another. He stood still for a moment and let his thoughts catch up before he blinked a few times. "Wow, it's pretty difficult to change so quickly from one thing to another," he said. "That's something you'll have to get used to, Bill. You'll be living in many different types of worlds, and to change from one to the other in an instant is quite a skill. So get used to it, and when it happens, just take a deep breath and allow the sensation to go right through your body, and you'll change immediately from one scene to another and from one mode of operation to another. Your body might even shiver a little as this occurs, but make sure you don't lose any time over it and do it nice and fast," said Simon. Bill understood what Simon was talking about because that was exactly what had just happened to him. Bill smiled and marveled at the knowledge of this old gentleman before settling in to tell his story. Everyone settled to hear Bill's story. Right then, "You've never seen anything like the boat I saw today. I actually headed north towards the fishing area for the large boats, and I hadn't gone very far when suddenly, right in front of me, this thing leapt out of the water," he said excitedly. "It actually looked like a small whale, but it was that close that if I hadn't changed my rudder last week, I think I would have hit it. Or if I hadn't been at the wheel at the time, I certainly would have hit it. As it was, we just touched. The sudden wake of my boat flipped it over and over into the water. It just rolled and spun like something silly in the water. Then it took off and did a really fast turn before coming straight back beside my boat. Then, to my surprise, this funny door lifted up and made a strange whirring sound, and out popped a little round-faced gentleman who introduced himself as Willie Brotich," said Bill as he looked around at each of them. Everybody's face was bright and focused on Bill. As he looked around, he wondered why there was no response. They were all sitting there waiting for more, including Suzanne, who he had already told some of this before. It looked like he was the storyteller now, so he continued. He told about his conversation with Willie and how Willie was really interested in everything that Bill was doing and how they had gotten along so well. He told of how he had promised to meet Willie again tomorrow at the same place at the same time, and how he had promised to show Bill his boat. Bill then went on to describe his own personal excitement of something he could feel but didn't know how to explain. He knew that something special was happening and that somehow he would be involved with Willie Brotich in some way or another. He expressed the fact that even at the time, he thought for some reason the statement that Simeon had made about putting his boat up for sale had made some sense. He did not know what it was all about. When he said that he didn't know what it was all about, Simon jumped up quickly from his chair and said, "That's it, Bill. I've got the picture now. I think I can fill you in on what's happening." Everyone's eyes then turned to Simon, and he explained, "I've been told that I have to show you how money works. I've been told to show you how money comes out of nowhere and how it can be manipulated in such a way that you will have access to the use of money rather than the ownership, and how you can use the things that belong to you to turn them into not just money as a conversion, but turn them into something that gives you access to money. I think we've got to use your boat like I used the 35 cents. Bill's eyes widened. He could not see how that could be done, but he knew it was correct. He said, "Keep talking, Simon. I think you're on track." "I'm sure I'm on track," agreed Simon. "I was told, but I didn't understand what I was being told. So now I know what I've got to show you, and I know that after you speak to Willie Broltage, you'll be ready to actually do a deal with him. Just make sure that when you speak to him, you tell him you're interested in everything he's interested in, and then you come back to me so that we can talk it all over. We'll be able to figure out a way to make it work best for you. If he wants a decision straight away, tell him you've made your decision, but you've got to clarify a few things before you settle it." "Yes, I can do that," said Bill. "It's roughly the same as I do with booking up a load of fish. I say I've got a load for you, but it all depends on the catch." "Yeah, a little bit like that," said Simon, "but I know you'll handle it okay. The big thing is that we all stick together and we all know what's happening, just like we did with the 35 cents. You can't do it all alone, because if you do it alone, it's either you have something or you don't have something. You must have people involved to develop a need that changes the value." Bill could see that, and he knew the value of the earlier exercise. "This is an amazing exercise, Simon. How could it possibly be anything but something from above? No human could put all of this together," said Bill. The smile on Simon's face just grew and grew, and he started to glow and look younger and younger as Bill spoke. He nodded at Bill. He was so pleased at what he was hearing. Bill turned to Suzanne and asked, "Did you know any of this was happening, Suzanne?" "I have a feeling, but I don't know much about it. But I do know when it fits the big picture. It's something deep inside me," answered Suzanne. "Well," said Bill. Suzanne laughed and turned to Jamie. "What do you think, Jamie?" "I want to go on the boat," replied Jamie. Suzanne looked up at Bill and said, "There's your answer." Bill knew the simplicity of that. He knew that if it weren't supposed to be, then at least one of the family would have said no. "What do you think, Samuel?" asked Bill. "Boat," said Samuel. Martha's answer was the same, "Boat." "I'll go along with that," said Simon. "Boat for me too." "Okay, let's have a look at what we're doing, and we'll take it on as a family," said Bill. The joy around the table was such that it felt like an electric current passing between them all, and it grew into excitement, then into laughter. Martha started it all by giggling, and then Samuel leaned over to tickle her. Then Jamie jumped around laughing. Suzanne soon followed. Then Simon and then Bill felt the seriousness dissolve in his body, and he joined in as well. It was one of the best feelings Bill had ever felt. It seemed like everything rolled up into one, and his love for everyone simply blossomed within him. He could feel the energy rising in his body. It was a special energy that he had never experienced before. He could feel his hands beginning to tingle and burn slightly. It continued, yet he felt so good. Soon everyone started to look at him, and he had no idea why, but he was feeling better and better every minute. The energy he could feel fascinated him because he had never felt anything like it. He looked over at Suzanne, and her face had changed. It looked so mellow and loving. He looked around at Simon, and Simon was looking back at him with his mouth open. Jamie came up alongside Bill and put her arm around him. He could feel everything within Jamie, and he felt the brilliance of her energy as it mingled with his. It was as if they were both alight. Suzanne's mouth opened in amazement, and Bill knew that there was something very special occurring. He looked down at Jamie, and he could see a slight glow around her. He wondered if it was the same for him. He immediately felt the energy around him, and he knew it was the same. He felt so normal and so at home. He allowed the energy to increase, and he became more and more comfortable with the whole world. Suddenly, he realized that he could see more things in the room, more than just the people sitting around the table. He wondered what that was all about, but he wasn't surprised. He could see outlines of people, and they seemed to be coming into focus the more his energy rose. Then, there across the room, as clear as any other person, was Jamie's fairy. He looked down at Jamie, and she looked over at the fairy, and then back to Bill. She said, "See, Bill, my fairy does exist." "She most certainly does, Jamie," replied Bill. Jamie let go of Bill and skipped over to the corner to play with her fairy. As she did so, Bill's energy began to fade a little, and his vision started to return to normal. Within a few moments, he was standing there with all sensations gone, but feeling totally comfortable. "Bill, do you know what just happened?" asked Suzanne, very gently and quietly. Bill did not feel like answering or responding to anything. He was in such a mellow space, he really did not want to return. "Just leave him for a while, Suzanne," advised Simon. "We'll just all sit quietly for a spell. We mustn't disturb him too quickly." Suzanne and Simon sat there for what seemed like hours while Bill gradually returned to his normal consciousness. Suddenly, Bill spoke. "Wow, what was that?" He was so bright and wide-eyed. He looked backwards and forwards at everyone and said, "That was an amazing feeling. You two looked a bit funny. What did you see?" Suzanne walked over to Bill and wrapped her arms around him. "Bill, you've got no idea who you are, do you?" "What do you mean?" asked Bill. "The person we saw here a while ago definitely didn't come from here," she answered. "The person that we saw in you was such a majestic being, somebody who we have never seen before on this island, somebody very, very special." Puzzled, Bill quickly turned to Simon and asked, "Do you know what she's talking about, Simon?" "I most certainly do," answered Simon. "We all saw it, and now we know why you had the ability to heal Jamie and why Jamie and you work so well together. When Jamie came alongside you, she started to glow just like you did. Together, you made quite a pretty sight." Bill was very surprised, but he felt good about it. He looked across the room at Jamie and saw the freedom in her movements. He looked down at Samuel. His smile was so gentle and loving, and then over to Martha, who had her vision fixed on Bill. He looked at Suzanne and said, "Wow, everything's different." "It most certainly is different. It's different for us as well," said Simon. "I think the whole world has changed for us all in the last few minutes. I'll be looking forward to seeing what happens tomorrow." Bill had no idea what Simon was talking about because he had actually forgotten everything. He was too involved in the moment. When Simon repeated, "Bill, we'll just have to see what happens tomorrow," Bill realized that he must be missing something. He said, "I'm sorry, Simon. What was that again?" "I'm sorry to bring you back, Bill, but I have to tell you that right now you've got to know that there's something special happening tomorrow," replied Simon. Bill found himself in an unusual place where it was necessary to flit from one world to another, and he immediately recalled Simon's earlier statement. He stood quickly, took a deep breath, and allowed the change to happen. His consciousness was filled with the full story that had taken place earlier that day. He saw the picture of the meeting with Willie Broltage, and he shook his head. "Wow, that's better than a stiff drink, Simon. That really shakes you up." Simon laughed and said, "Well done, Bill. So now we're back into this part of the world and know that the rest hasn't gone. You can do that at any time. We will talk again about the special being that you are, but right now you have to know that your actions tomorrow are something that we can't rehearse. It's something that will happen naturally. Make sure that you go along with your feelings, not with your mind, and make sure that you have no reaction to anything, because this is the key point in setting you up to do all the things that Simeon said you would do." "That's fine," said Simon. "I feel like I can do anything at the moment, and I'm sure that I'll feel the same way tomorrow," said Bill. "I don't seem to have any doubts about anything, And somehow I think I can have everything all at the same time. I don't think I need to throw away the things I love. I don't think I have to sacrifice anything. You're a fast learner, Bill, said Simon. Many of us have spent a full lifetime here and still have not figured that out. Somehow you have an immediate knowledge of it all. So stick with it and come over here and give me a big hug. Bill was not sure what Simon was on about. He thought to himself, men shake hands. They don't hug each other. Simon was talking to him like he would talk to Jamie. Bill looked a little strangely at Simon. Simon said, Bill, come over here. I want to show you that a hug is not just for a child, and it's not just for male and female. It's for everyone. I want to break that rule that's been placed on you over the years. Now come here, Bill. Bill reluctantly walked over to Simon, and as Simon wrapped his arms around him, he knew exactly what Simon was talking about. He felt like he melted in the arms of the old man. They stayed there for so long that Bill did not want to leave. When Simon eventually pulled back from Bill, he looked him in the eye and said, Bill, one day you'll know what special energies you have around you. I just cannot believe what I've just experienced. My experience was the same, replied Bill. I can assure you that it wasn't the same, and you'll understand that one day, said Simon. Simon turned to Suzanne and said, you look after this man, Suzanne. I understand, Simon, came Suzanne's reply. Then as quickly as they had arrived, Simon had them out the door. It was like suddenly he had said, that's it, away you go. They packed up everything and Simon shuffled them out the door. They were all standing outside, waving before they had time to realize that they had been thrown out. Gee, Simon, just about threw us out of there, said Suzanne, slightly taken aback. Yeah, I noticed that, agreed Bill. Why do you think that was? Asked Suzanne, still not understanding what had just happened. Suzanne had never asked a question like that of Bill before. He was a little stunned by the question, as he had never thought about those sorts of things. He just lived from day to day, getting on with his life. He never thought about why. When Bill focused on the question, he found that he was suddenly standing inside Simon Guthrie's room, wondering why he was there. Then a sudden flash came to him, and he could see Simon sitting in the chair holding his chest. Bill looked at Suzanne and said, Simon's not well. We've got to help him. Suzanne rushed straight back up the stairs and into the room, and sure enough, Simon was in pain. His heart was giving him another workout. She quickly knelt down beside Simon and asked, Simon, is there anything we can do? Don't fuss, just don't fuss, said Simon while clutching his chest. Suzanne could see that he was going white and he was suffering terribly. Bill soon arrived at the door with all of the children. Suzanne rushed over and said, I'll look after the children. You go and fix Simon. Don't just help him, fix him. Bill took the 4 or 5 steps forward towards Simon, and on those 5 steps, Bill felt himself grow taller and stronger and more determined with every step. By the time he was alongside Simon, that same feeling where his hands were tingling and his energy was rising came over in such a way that he almost passed out. When he placed his hands on Simon's back, Simon's entire body convulsed and jerked up into an upright position. Simon's eyes rolled back and then returned to normal in one deep breath, a deep breath that seemed like it was sucking life back into his body. His body suddenly relaxed, and he looked up at Bill. Thanks, Bill. I thought I was gone then, said Simon in an almost breathless voice. Bill leaned over and placed another hand on the front of Simon's chest, and he somehow knew he was repairing the damage that had occurred to Simon's heart. He could feel the pulse that controlled his heart. He knew that he had to get the pulse in order, and as he focused in on that pulse, he could feel it change. He could feel it get sharper and cleaner. When he was totally happy that the pulse was normal, he released his hands and said to Simon, "I'd like you to rest. You'll be okay now. Come and I'll help you into your bed, but take it slowly. You'll be all right, but you must take it slowly. We don't want to muck up what we've done." Bill helped Simon into his room and settled him comfortably into bed. He then placed his hand on Simon's forehead, and in a matter of seconds, Simon was asleep. Bill stepped back and suddenly felt himself changing back to normal. With a shudder, once again, he almost passed out. He looked around, and standing at the end of the hall were the children with Suzanne, all looking very serious. Another shudder went through Bill's body, and he soon felt like he was back to normal. "It's okay. Simon's asleep now. He'll be fine," said Bill reassuringly. "Do we have to stay with him?" asked Suzanne, who was quite concerned for Simon. "No, he's fine," answered Bill. "He's sleeping. Come on, we better get going." "Are you sure?" asked Suzanne, who was reluctant to leave Simon alone. "Come on, Mom. It's okay," said Jamie. Suzanne's worry melted away with Bill's total confidence and with Jamie's encouragement. So once again, off they went down the steps and started on their way home. Things seemed to be happening so quickly for Bill, and as a result, for Suzanne and the family also. It seemed like it didn't matter what Bill did. Everything seemed to be unfolding. Suzanne could understand exactly what Simeon had said, though she wasn't sure whether it was a day or two before, but she clearly remembered his words and what he had said. He had told her to look ahead and see the direction that everybody was heading in and see that it was either right or not right, then to move away from whatever was not right. She could see that it didn't matter what she thought. Everything was going ahead the right way. Anyway, she knew that it was better not to think about it. It was better to catch up with everything that was happening each day, although it took a lot more time than trying to catch up with the future. And every day there was a new future. It was so exciting. The picture that she thought she had was actually disappearing into insignificance. The big picture, or what she had thought was the big picture, had become almost nothing. Things were growing way out of proportion, and it was growing so fast that the excitement captured every moment of her day. When they arrived home, it was such a joy for her to slip back into the role of looking after her family. It was such a joy to make Bill feel comfortable in who he was. She really loved the feeling it gave her, the way Bill responded when she told him how special he was. It was something that had shaped her life to a degree that she had never imagined before. She knew that each time something special happened, she was able to gain much more by being part of it and by supporting what was happening than she could have possibly had by it all happening to her. It was a little like the lesson they had on money. Many people had needed to be involved. It was no use being on your own. It was no use having a special experience just for you alone. It has to involve everybody so that it has depth and possibilities and can go rapidly and can feel safe. As Suzanne thought these things, her hands moved swiftly and easily to prepare the vegetables. Her eyes swept the room with ease to check on the children. At the same time, she noticed that she was guiding the children to make sure they didn't get themselves into trouble. All of this was happening while she was standing preparing the vegetables. The occasional special feeling that swept between her and Bill kept the place vibrant and warm, cozy, and totally comfortable. Suzanne had forgotten about her promise to visit Carmel Roberts. It was to take place the next day, and suddenly, out of nowhere, Carmel's face appeared before her. She stopped what she was doing and quickly stepped back with a start. "Oh," she said. Bill looked up and asked, "What's up?" Suzanne didn't reply straight away. "Are you all right?" asked Bill. "Yes, I'm all right. I'm all right. Just hang on." Suzanne stood still for a moment and then said, "Wow." She turned to Bill. Do you know that Carmel Roberts just visited me? It was like she stuck her face right in front of mine. She reminded me that she was supposed to see me tomorrow. Is that is that right? Bill thought for a moment. I think you did say something about that, but wow, so many things are happening. I have no idea. I'm sure that's right. I checked with her and she said yes and nodded her head that it was tomorrow. I think it's fairly early as well, said Suzanne. Well, I'll just go along with it. That's good, said Bill. You should go along with it. Carmel is a nice person. She has always supported you fairly well. That is, when she didn't have the horrors about things. Suzanne laughed. What do you mean, the horrors, Bill? Well, she gets the horrors about things. That's why she didn't see you for a long time, explained Bill. What do you mean she didn't see me for a long time? Asked Suzanne. Well, she didn't see you for a really long time, answered Bill. Suzanne corrected Bill. No, I didn't see her. No, it's the other way around. Carmel's in control of all of that, said Bill. Suzanne thought for a moment and asked, How do you know that? He shrugged his shoulders. I don't know. This is a very interesting conversation, said Suzanne. You've never spoken to me like this. No, I don't suppose I have. I wonder what's going on, replied Bill. Yes, I wonder, said Suzanne. You could almost see the question mark over the top of her head. Bill smiled. You're on a mission. You're about to find something out, aren't you? Yes, I am. And I will go and see Carmel, and I will find out more than what she knows, said Suzanne. You're starting to sound dangerous, said Bill. No, not dangerous. Determined. I'm determined to see a little further into everything. I need to know, explained Suzanne. Well, over to you. I won't get in your way at all. Particularly with that look on your face, said Bill. Suzanne laughed and went over and wrapped her arms around Bill. It's all right, Bill. I do this sometimes. Yes, remind me not to get in front of you, laughed Bill. Suzanne also laughed. It was good that they could be so light with one another and so open about all sorts of things. There was still something inside Suzanne that made her protect a little of herself, and in that protection, there was a bit of mystery. Bill knew that you do not go into that area. As Suzanne felt that feeling, she became determined to find out more and to open that whole area up within herself so that it never ever came between her and Bill. It was a lighthearted feeling. It was lighthearted because somewhere she knew there was an opening that would allow her to clear all of her past and to clear all of the strange reactions that she had whenever anybody confronted her or advised her of her own capabilities. She knew that she had to clear everything when she thought back to Bill's actions, and she remembered what he had looked like and remembered how easy it was for him to work with Simon's illness and how he had never even thought to mention it since. Suzanne's determination grew and stayed with her all night. It was still there when she awoke early the next morning to see Bill off on his new adventure. Before he left, though, he turned and gave her a special gift. It was something that came from his heart, and it penetrated her whole being and lifted her to such an extent that she wondered who she had become involved with. It came so quickly, it was like a flash from his eye, a twinkle where she saw past the surface of the man she loved and felt the power of his special energy right through her body. The love that this instilled was something that Suzanne had never imagined possible, and it was so quick and so perfect that she just stood and looked at Bill and slowly shook her head. Bill smiled and said, Enjoy your day. Then he left. Well, that ends chapter 38. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. And of course, I wish you a perfect life, perfect health, and a magic future. Thank you.